easiest schedule in the league are going to miss the playoffs, are going to regress. Is that an overreaction?
That's an overreaction. Listen, as much as we talked about like the turnovers and the schedule and all this other stuff, we haven't mentioned about the progression of Caleb Williams. You know, being in his second year with Ben Johnson. I think the one thing I really appreciate about Ben Johnson at the end of the last year after they were eliminated was the fact he talked about is last year was last year. It has no bearing on the next year. Like, we need to reset and refocus and worry about 2026. I love to hear that from a coach because it's true. People expect, we're going to take what we did in 2025 and 2026. No, that team is totally different from the team that you're going in the season with.
So look, I mean, I've had Ben Johnson on my radar for years because Rex Ryan's son coached under him for years. So Rex has been telling me for years there is a young coach, a young offensive coach on the staff in Detroit who is going to be the next Bill Walsh. He's been saying that forever. So I would ask you this. Right now, the league has always had like the great quarterback-coach combo. We had Belichick and Brady. We've had Reed and Mahomes. If someone is going to become the next one of that, I'm not guaranteeing anything. Who would you bet on if you look at the combination before you would bet on it being Ben Johnson, who seems to be as creative offensively with a different style? Like every coach is running that one offense. He's got his own thing here that travels well. You look at what he's doing and you look at the talent of Caleb Williams. If you're going to bet on a coach-quarterback combo, why wouldn't you bet on him?
You absolutely bet on them, but I'm going to say this about Ben Johnson. Because it felt like he was slow to take a head coaching job, I didn't know what the personality was going to be. I didn't know what the dog was going to be. I didn't think he was going to walk out to the middle of the field, dap off Matt LaFleur real quick and walk off.
He seemed like a maniac.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to be. I didn't think he was going to be about that action the way that he is. I didn't think he was going to have that level of a way to hold a team accountable the way he does. The level of toughness he has, the physicality that he preaches. And if you look at the difference in Detroit's offense in 1 year and Chicago's offense in the year he was there, it felt like Dan Campbell was always the tone setter in that building, but Ben Johnson played a part in that as well. And so beyond what he can do from an X's and O's or strategic standpoint, it's Ben Johnson the person. It's Ben Johnson the leader. And he challenged Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams showed what type of dude he was by answering the call.
You know what else Ben Johnson is? He's smart. He had the opportunity potentially to be a head coach the year before. He waited for the right situation. He didn't jump at the first job that came open. He waited till he saw a spot that he liked. He identified Caleb Williams as the guy. I can make him into the next whomever, and I personally think they're on their way.
And if you go back to what we said last year, which was that it would take a little bit of time for Caleb Williams to get fully up to speed. Well, maybe a year into the offense, he gets fully up to speed. And if he's that good and that adept in that offense, yeah, the Bears will have a tough schedule. There's no reason that team should regress in noticeable amount to where they wouldn't be competing for a playoff spot.
You said something earlier, Greeny, about Caleb Williams being so good at doing the hard stuff.
Yeah.
You know what he was also good at? He was also good about answering the call in the biggest moments. That's normally the thing that young players have to gain, young players have to acquire through experience. But Caleb Williams, when all the chips were down, that's when he was his best at the quarterback position.
You know when he's going. He just needs to learn to bat singles.
Yeah.
That's when his game is going to take the next level. We've seen the spectacular. When he learns to consistently bat singles, he's going to become a superstar.
If the Bears wind up winning that game, that touchdown he throws at the end against the Rams becomes one of the legendary plays of all time.
Absolutely. But it wasn't just the touchdown. It was all of the things that led up to it. It was all of the things that said, hey, Caleb Williams, in this moment against the MVP, what are you going to do? Right. Can we count on you? And he showed time and time again.
Bears schedule, what are you seeing, Shefty?
I'm seeing 2 of the final 3 games at home. Green Bay, Week 16 at home. Detroit at home in Week 17 at Minnesota to end the season. That's a nice little run out at home against divisional opponents. 2 of the 3 games are at home, which is where the Bears would want to have those games.
So you see, they finished against the division in their last 3 weeks. All right, we continue with the overreactions. RC, these are courtesy of Graziano. The Bengals play the 3rd easiest schedule in the NFL. So if someone said, Joe Burrow is getting back to the AFC title game this year, is that an overreaction?
I would say that's an overreaction because I don't think it only depends on Joe Burrow. Obviously, he has to be healthy. We know what he can do with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase on the outside. But this defense has been historically awful the last few years. And what will it do under Al Golden in its second year? And it's going to feel like, because you have the New England Patriots of last year, or even the Denver Broncos at points of last year, that if you have an easier schedule, it puts you in the playoffs with an opportunity to win 2 games and get yourself there. But I just feel like the Bengals were too far off in the last few seasons to just predict that this defense will be good enough, even with an all-time great quarterback, that they can get to the AFC Championship.
The addition of Dexter Lawrence, obviously the big aggressive trade they made. Do you think that their defense can, if their defense can just get somewhere close to average, that Burrow can carry this team? Can they do that?
I think, if not now, when. I think all the moves that the Bengals have made, because I think they feel a sense of urgency regarding their quarterback. I think Joe Burrow has grown frustrated with this Bengals organization, the lack of moves, or the lack of the guys on the other side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, to really step up. And I love what they've done defensively in the offseason. It's just a matter of, are they going to gel well enough to go out there and be true contenders?
That trade showed how much urgency there is for this season for this organization. And it wasn't just the trade for Dexter Lawrence. They went out and added 6 different players that could be defensive starters. They added 2 more players in the draft that could be defensive starters. You're looking at an overhauled defense because they know the importance of this season. This organization cannot afford to have another season go the way last year did. Otherwise, people in Cincinnati don't want to hear it. There's going to be a lot of questions that are going to be asked
about Joe Burrow's future.
Yes.
I mean, let's put a name on it. He seemed like an unhappy I love him. There's no bigger fan of Joe Burrow than me. He looked like a guy at the end of last year who just wasn't having any fun. And I understand losing can be hard.
So people who are hyper-focused the way that Joe Burrow is, there's the good pieces to it, and then there's the bad. There's the obsessive film watching. There's the understanding of defenses where I could continually pick you apart. But when you're losing, it's also the critique and the scrutiny of your entire organization, of your entire team. And when you are Joe Burrow and you play that well individually, that does begin to weigh on you. The other piece is this. We're talking about what's been added defensively. Obviously, we know that Dexter Lawrence is a proven commodity. They've been trying to draft defensive players. They've been trying to get good players on that side of the ball. The problem is they haven't produced to where their draft selection or draft slot was. And that has to happen this year for this defense to be better.
But these are free agent acquisitions. I think they feel like they have an idea of what they're getting more so than with a young rookie that you don't know how he's going to project in the NFL and how his skill set will translate.
Let me do one more overreaction from Graziano, and I'll set it up by telling you that 5 of the last 10 Super Bowls have featured at least one team that did not make the playoffs the year before. Like the Patriots last year hadn't been in the playoffs. They make the Super Bowl. It's happened 5 of the last 10 years. So, D-Wood, if I were to say that's going to happen this year, one of the 2 teams in the Super Bowl this year will be a team that wasn't in the playoffs last year, is that an overreaction?
I'm going to go overreaction because I got both of them making the playoffs this year.
No. The Super Bowl team that is going to be a team that missed to the playoffs this past year. So some examples might be
San Francisco,
Lions,
Dallas,
Ravens, Cowboys.
Here
are the 4 that we looked at. Lions, Ravens, Cowboys, Chiefs are all teams that missed the playoffs last year.
Absolutely. I mean, the first team I thought about was the Detroit Lions. Like that to me is a team like that. Absolutely, I think the Detroit Lions, with the additions they made on the offensive line and revamping the coaching staff, they're going to be a team that's going to bounce back. Baltimore, like the new energy in that building, Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson's healthy, come on. Like the Baltimore Ravens, to me, are like one of the most talented teams in the league.
So what I'm going to say is this year is kind of like cheating when you ask these questions, because we got these teams that historically have competed, right, and have been in that position. The New England Patriots came out of nowhere. Drake May was in his second year. He becomes one of the best players in the league. Mike Vrabel right away shows why he should have still been the head coach in Tennessee. You look at these teams, we're talking about Andy Reid. We're talking about Lamar Jackson. We're talking about Jared Goff and Dan Campbell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The San Francisco 49ers I'm going to be honest. There was no coach who outcoached Kyle Shanahan last year.
Right.
There was no coach who did that. And obviously they made the playoffs, but that's a team that could also factor this year because we're looking at the way that they lost football games because of not having. There's going to be a team that sneaks up this year and wins that already had good players, just fell on some hard times.
So you're saying you don't see a team. No one would. It comes from nowhere.
I don't think. I think it's it's the Detroits, it's the Kansas Cities, it's the Baltimore.
Those teams were out of the playoffs last year. So
Dallas?
if your definition
Would
coming
Dallas
out
be
of
coming out of nowhere?
They didn't make the play. That was the question.
Right. Yeah.
The question is there a team that didn't make the playoffs?
Right.
And any of those teams is capable. Nowhere, somewhere, whatever, they're coming. Any of those teams is possible to do it.
I think you're almost scared sometimes to talk about the Dallas Cowboys as being a team that can win in the offseason, but they truly are. The George Pickens piece is so huge. He signed the franchise tag. If he actually plays what that team was offensively last year, and now you look at the added pieces defensively, Caleb Downs, one of the best draft picks, in my opinion, on the defensive side of the ball, what they can do at the linebacker position, this is the team that could be scary very early, and if they play down the stretch, Dak Prescott, that is.
What's the Cowboys' schedule?
What's it looking at, Shefty?
Dallas has got a bye in Week 14 before finishing at the Rams, home for Jacksonville, home for the Giants, at Washington. Kind of a favorable finish to the Dallas season. I like the Cowboys a lot this year. I think a lot. You mentioned Caleb Downs. Don't forget to name Jalen Thompson either.
Yes.
Love that guy, too.
Big-time player from Arizona.
By the way, I got a question. Does Dan Graziano, is this like a homework assignment that you gave him?
Yes.
To send in questions to ask? Like, how does this happen?
I don't know. He's at his son's graduation this weekend. Congratulations to the Graziano family. But he did this for us before he left. Coming up, a challenging late schedule could shake up the Eagles' hold on the